Good evening, SRA Nation, and welcome to Season 12.
Today is going to be a new challenge, aside from being Sanford. We're racing on the surface of the sun, apparently.
Heading down towards the main start line.
Maximizing that track just behind. That's exactly what we were talking about. That one corner. So critical to your lap time. You have to send it. This is the apex curving there by a little bit.
Everybody's now bunched up, and you do not want that.
Rewind now at the end of Sector 1 in the spot you really don't want to, but the fight's not over.
Still there on the inside, and the McLaren's still not going to give the place up.
And we're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, SRA Nation, and welcome to the GT3 Team Series Season 13, Round 7 here at Oulton Park for Division 4. I'm your host this evening, Big Daddy, joined in the booth tonight by Matt Anderson. Matt, how are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you doing, bud? Ready for another night of racing?
Absolutely. I am doing more than awesome.
Excellent.
So far, we have had a pretty amazing series. Several different winners. Coming up through, we've had... Obviously, we had round 1 at Suzuka, followed up by Watkins, Misano, Nürburgring, the Wet, Zolder, and then last week we found ourselves at Mount Pano, where we had our first 3-time winner of the season with another Anderson, Aaron Anderson. He has been,
yes, indeed.
He's been dominant here in the second half of the season here in the Mustang after being our one of our promotions from mid-season, coming up from Division 5. How do you think he's going to be doing tonight at Oulton Park, do you think?
I think we're likely to see more of the same. Oulton is a fan favorite, a driver favorite. You know, it's even if some of us have trouble with it sometimes, it is a fun track to drive, and it's not hard to just kind of get into your groove and start hot lapping. So I'm thinking we'll see him do fairly well, as long as he can stay, you know, out of the grass, out of trouble. I'd say island bend always creates some interesting situations.
Yeah, this track in general is always a bit of a tough one here. I'm
just saying, you know, right? You don't know that terror until you get off into the grass on Island Bend and then are staring at a wall going into the hairpin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always a tough track here. Oulton Park is super fun, but it is very much an old school British track, so there's a lot of undulation. It's not a super even and we'll say manicured racing surface. Like we've seen at some of the tracks like Suzuka or Misano. So definitely makes it a bit of a challenge in a GT3 car where there's so much dependence on aero grip, and even some of the cars really relying on the floor to help generate a lot of downforce and you know, consequently help getting around the track.
Yeah, I'd say this is a higher downforce track, right? Because we got so many turns. There's really not much in the way of long straights. So that should be a more advantageous setup. Perhaps even a higher ride height, because Oulton is pretty notoriously bumpy. That's what I'd be thinking about. Of course, that leans itself to a certain driving style, not for everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our driver standings for the season so far. Matt, if you want to talk about this one.
Absolutely. So for the GT3 SRA GT3 Team Series Season 13 Division 4, after 6 of 8 rounds, we find ourselves at Oulton Park, and atop the leaderboard, number 1 is Sean Williams with Champion Motorsports. Number 2, Ryan Garrity with Turbo Time Racing. Number 3, Justin Moffitt, Crazy Rabbits Racing. Number 4, our new number 4, Aaron Anderson, Madhouse Racing. Number 5, Kyle Cumber. 6, Justin Rothenthal. 7, Kevin Johnson, 8, Stephen Dutton, 9, Steve Foster, 10, Henry Ramirez with Dark Horse Renegades. Going out of the top 10, we have Justin Griswold, Eric Rutterham, Raf Cab in 13th, Matt Matassi, Jabri GTG, Alexander Giordano, Stephen Music, JP Johnson, Jacob Buterski, and Rob Moorhead rounding out the top 20. Scott Johnson going on from there, Ian Demler, Landon P., Stefan Buckley, Spencer Taft, and Hesham Rimsk. Here we have on the next page, rounding out the rest of the pack. In 27th, Darren Robichaud. 28th, Mert Mertson, Caleb Tenney, Travis Tatro in 30th, John Ansom, Matt Melanson, Thomas Greer, Roger Rodriguez, Robert Lacey, Kyle Miller, Matt Anderson, this guy, Aiden Burke, Stephanie Fisher, Jason Pinkard, Jake Battle, Vincent Nicolette, Steven Sarver, Bruce Hopkins, my teammate Brett Swift, and Vishal Sahara.
Yep, and then we'll take a quick look at the team standings. So far, Champion Motorsports has been holding down a pretty commanding lead at 669 points so far on the season. Followed not too far behind, though, by Better Call Steve at 547 points, so only 122 points down. Certainly not an insurmountable gap there. Third place, we've got Race X Esports sitting at 508 points. Team Lake Effect of Kevin Johnston and Rob Moorhead in the Mercedes holding down fourth place, just a couple of points there behind P3. Crazy Rabbits in P5. Turbo Time Racing P6, Red Cars Go Faster P7, a tight little battle right there as well for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Just 7 points separating the three of those teams. Blind Babushkas of Hesham Rimsk and Stephen Dutton at 470 points. OBDA Castle and Cauldron Esports in P9. Baseline Racing Turbo Time in P10. Oak Racing, our Bentley boys there in P11 with 432 points. Red Eye Racing sitting in P12 of John Ansman and Eric Rudderham. Madhouse SYS of Aaron Anderson, a solo driver there in P13 in the team championship. Plain E Racing Coke in 14th. Baseline Racing Secret Santas in P15. Dark Horse Renegades P16. Glusfon Campus in P17. Baseline Racing Holiday Inn Express of Jobri GTG, another one of our solo drivers. They're in P18. Dive Bomb Bandits in P19. And Overboost in 20th. MHR OBDA Bitch Peace Hold the Brakes in P21. Baseline Racing Last Minute Shoppers P22. Black Sheep Motorsport P23. MHR Nayslayer in P24. Brew Hop Brewing sitting in P25. And APX Dynamics sitting in P26. And I do want to pop back over here to our driver standings real quick and just give a shout out to Justin Rosenthal, sitting P6 as a silver driver in the overall point standings and holding down a pretty commanding lead over Raf Cab and who's second in the silver championship, to the tune of what, just 58 points. And it was just a couple of rounds ago that Raf was leading the silver championship.
Yeah, Justin is surrounded by a whole lot of gold there as a silver.
Yeah, absolutely, just sitting right in the middle, wondering when someone's going to realize he's there.
Exactly. But yeah, putting down some great times, certainly putting in a lot of effort, and it's showing.
Absolutely it is. Now let's take a quick look at the track for tonight's racing. So like we said earlier, we are here at Oulton Park, first constructed in 1953. Plenty of historic racing has happened here, both in terms of racing over the years and in terms of historic sports car events. Amazingly, this track was not originally an airfield, one of the few British tracks it seems that wasn't. This track comes in at 4.307 kilometers or 2.6, rounded up to 2.7 miles. Located in Cheshire, England, features 17 corners. Just to kind of talk through some of these corners, we've got turn 1, which is called Old Hall. It's a fast right-hander. It's going to be really tricky on cold tires here, especially on our opening lap. That is going to lead us into a Denton, which is just a slight kink, leading into turn 3 Cascades. Turn 2, we do have a dip right after it, or right in it, depending on exactly how you want to look at it. And that is really bad about unsettling some of these cars, so we can see some chaos there. Cascades, you really want to nail this corner right because you have a long straight coming up right after it. You're going to haul down into Island Bend, which is turn 4. That is a high-speed left. And maintaining just enough speed to stay in front and make sure that you don't have any sort of issues with folks behind you is really paramount here.
Don't touch the grass.
Absolutely. You get out in the grass, you are in a very bad spot very quickly. Because there are some walls there on the inside of turn 5, the Shell Oil's hairpin. That is a bowl type turn, so it's got a lot of camber to it, so you can really carry some good speed once you're in it. But it is generally kind of like a low speed second gear corner for a lot of the cars. Ton of fun. Sets you up perfectly into Britain's at turn 6. And then 7, 8, 9 is a chicane. Where you really got to cut that entry curb and hope that you don't bleed out too much air from the tires over the course of the race especially. You will have a short straight, then go down into another chicane there at turns 10 and 11. And then a kind of a tricky right-hander with almost a little bit of a crest and a nasty curb on the inside and then a nasty curb on the outside exit. Both of them can really upset the car balance. Then we climb up the hill through turns 13 and 14 as we drop back down into 15, which is a fast right-hand corner. Really easy to kind of get the car unbalanced there. A little bit of a straight into turn 16, which is also going to have just a little bit of a crest into it before you drop down into almost a gully and then crest back over across turn 17 and then into the start-finish line. Really a tricky course here with a ton of elevation change and even a lot of just minute elevation change from that uneven surface that we were talking about before.
Yeah, no, I think you called it with nasty bumps. Not only is the track bumpy, but as you called it out, Britain's and Hislops is the chicanes. You hit the sausage curbs there, you're in trouble. Knickerbrook right behind it, that's trouble. Druids, Lodge, all of them. If you get too far inside, you're going for a ride.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very tricky track here. And let's see, we're seeing some of our cars start to filter out for the silver drivers onto track to start their out laps.
And just to mention, looking at the track conditions, we are already at optimum for the silver drivers, so we should expect some good times across the group.
Yeah, I would expect things to start off pretty quickly here.
Yeah, looking at the hot lap leaderboards for the week, at the top we have Stephen Dutton with a 133.197. Right behind him, Aaron Anderson with a 133.207. And Alexander Giordano with a 133.387. And those are your top three drivers. Now, like to mention classification-wise, for those hot laps and where it fits into the timing, we have classifications on what what times you're kind of expected to do based on what division you're in. There are 30 people who put down hot laps. Half of them have hot lap times that are above D4 for this week. So, and the top two are actually D1 times. I'm expecting to see some pretty fast racing here tonight.
Yeah, overall, and I've had this discussion with a few folks, the league really has gotten rather quick in some of these divisions. And
Agreed.
Even Division 6 down at the quote-unquote low end for SRA has really gotten quite a lot faster over the time that I've been here. Of course, we mentioned last week I joined here in Season 6, you in Season 7, and just in that time, all these divisions have gotten a bit faster. It's been really cool to see. Now, with that said, for anyone who's looking at joining SRA, don't let that discourage you. We absolutely have a place here for truly everyone in terms of pace. The name of the game here is really just being respectful of those around you.
That is absolutely true, and it's a very inviting place for that. If you're interested at all, jump in. People are going to help you out. The name of the game is just trying to stay clean and learn more about racing and work your way on up the ladder. So, and we're both evidence of that, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the first times come across the board. So far, it's going to be Justin Rosenthal leading the pack. No surprise there with a 34.9. That is certainly a rapid banker lap. Closest competition is going to be Spencer Taft. They're half second off, although John Ansem comes right in. Just 250 off, quarter of a second.
Mm-hmm. And they're just on their second full laps right now. Tires are still coming up, so and the times are still coming down. We're going to see him get a lot faster. Rosenthal himself is already almost 0.6 of a second faster than his 134.9. Greer is 1 second up on his lap. So last lap, yeah, everybody's getting faster. Definitely looking forward to it.
Odyssey's a full second up right here in the Bentley.
Yes.
One of the best cars. So we also, in addition to this GT3 Team Series, we do a multi-class madness series. We were just at Oulton Park this past Friday. And this season it's been 45-minute races. And I actually was able to get into that race and drove the Bentley. And I got to say, if that was a side of things to come, I could see Madison and Robichaud putting up some really good performances tonight. Madison jumps up to P2 on the leaderboard, still half a second off of Rosenthal though. Rosenthal improving his time down to a 34.1. That is a rapid time and going to be a little bit difficult for some of these guys to match, I think.
I think so.
And of course, that's not meant to be a slam on anyone else here. My apologies. Had the wrong screen up. Had turned it off of the race because I need to adjust a quick setting.
It took me a minute to notice myself. I was distracted by other things. I'm sorry.
My apologies, y'all. But yeah, the Bentley has some potential to really put down strong performances here. Madison gets a little bit unbalanced coming out of the first chicane there. Now we already are at 6 p.m., 6:07, so we are going to have a kind of sunset race here, I think, which is going to make turn, let's see, what is that, turn 7 there at the that first chicane? It's going to make that outright treacherous, really, because you're going to have the sun blazing right in your eyes, and I'm hoping it's not like that on lap 1, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, that could make things interesting for sure. And yeah, that's probably likely what we are likely to see, if at least at some point in the race, right? 6:07 race time right now, or qualifying time right now.
Yeah.
I am assuming that puts race time at 7. So the race ends by 8. We could be finishing up in the dark.
We're going to see a couple of cars jump up above the Bentley boys. We've got Stefan Buckley in the Lexus putting down a 34.3, just under 0.2 off of Rosenthal, who's still sitting at that 34.1. He is looking to improve about a 10th.
And 34.1 and still gaining.
Robert Lacey here has improved up to a 34.3 as well, just a little bit higher up the board, or perhaps a little bit farther down the board is the right way to phrase that. 2200ths off of Rosenthal. Got Robichaud sitting right there in P4. Ansem's improved up a little bit and bumped Madison. He's sitting just 0.3 off, so really still a nicely close-knit group here. Take a quick look at Rosenthal. He's looking at improving by about a 1/10.5. Not going to get quite into the 33s, but with a 34.047. 2 minutes left. He has gone a little bit wide on turn 1 there. Looks like he invalidated.
I was going to say that's going to be invalid. Yeah.
Yeah, turn 1 is tricky here, because you don't get punished too much in terms of the car unsettling when you use that runoff. But if you get too far out into it, it's still safe, but it'll be invalid. And it's a really, unfortunately, and painfully so, easy way to pick up track cuts during the race. So that's something that their drivers are going to have to watch out for tonight, as Mattisey improves and hops up to provisional pole with a 33.8 in the Bentley.
Yeah, were you talking about Denton's there? Were he invalidated?
Ooh, gosh, I'm terrible with the corner names. Turn 1 is where he invalidated.
Oh,
you just go a
Old
little
Hall,
bit wide. Yeah, Old Hall. Thank you.
Yeah, it's that was one where, I mean, you really got to know your braking point and your turn-in point, right? And get into it soon enough. Hold on to that, and then maybe back off as you're coming through, because you know, like the curbs we talked about, you don't want to hit it too hard. But if you don't keep with it, you're going to go wide.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act, you know, and so many tracks and so many corners pull that same trick, and Old Hall is definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I think that's really something you can kind of say about a lot of these more old school style type tracks. The British tracks in ACC just tend to exhibit this a little bit more than some of the others, I think, where with some of the newer tracks like Barcelona, for example, or Misano, you can really just kind of throw the car around and push it, and things kind of work.
Right.
And granted, I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of the whole point in my eyes of a race car on a racetrack, is to just go whale on it and, you know, really just try to extract every last little, you know, tiny bit of performance out of it. With some of these older school tracks, it's a little bit more of that kind of patient dance, and you can't just go all out 10/10ths, at least to the same extent. I don't think.
I think to the core,
have that balance.
Yeah, to the core of it, for me anyways, is the tracks where you can see it coming versus where you have to know it's coming.
Yeah.
And right. And what I mean by that is you got to know it's coming, and you almost got to be turning in before you can even see the apex, before you can see the exit, right? You've already got to commit and be brave before you get there. And that's well, I think that's where practice really shows it right.
Yeah,
the ones who know they already know their corners, they already know their points, you know, in and out.
Yeah, and I think it's exacerbated here on these old school British tracks, just from the perspective that you have all these little undulations, and you can see it kind of as this McLaren goes around, how much the suspension is working and having to adjust every, you know, inch of forward progress, versus a track, you know, again, I'll use Barcelona as an example again, where it is just a much more manicured and kind of smooth track.
Very
there's
true.
a little bit less, you know, bumping throughout the entirety of the lap there.
So before the gold drivers start putting down their times, I just want to say that for the silvers, we had Matt Mattasey in first, Rosenthal in second, Buckley in third, Lacey in fourth, Rimsick in fifth, Robichaud sixth, Ansom seventh, Taft eighth, Rafcab in ninth, and Johnson rounding out the top 10 for our silver drivers. With the lowest time being a 1:33.8. So maybe not as low as I expected, but still very good times.
Absolutely. And I will clarify that is Scott Johnston sitting in P10. We do have 3 Johnstons here in the in Division 4.
Which one did I call him?
No, you just said Johnston. I was just offering a little clarification. You're A-okay, buddy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I need that clarification. I need you backing me up there. With so many Johnsons. It's like Andersons. I totally get it. There's too many of us. Far too many.
Although I think we only have 1 Johnston in here this evening.
Oh.
A little bit of a lighter grid after Pano. I think that could just be a matter of, I know there's some severe weather around the country right now. Could just be that some folks are not in a position where they necessarily want to show up and race. Just due to that, could just be that the Valentine's Day week. Maybe having to get ready for that. Plenty of
It's
different.
also race 7 out of 8 on the season, and it is not unusual to see the numbers drop down a little bit as we go, as we get to this point, for sure. But 28 racers on track for the 7th race out of 8, that's still pretty good, right?
Absolutely it is. And especially as much as
So-
SRA seems to love Oulton Park, and we have a certain affinity for this track, certain love for this track. It is a track that I think in general just draws a smaller crowd. It is a tough track to race on in GT3. There's no way around that.
I guess, like I said earlier, there are some people who really love it. There are some people who could do without it. I don't dislike it, except for when I hit a curb and I make a mistake and it's bumpy.
Yeah.
But really, it is still a unique and historic track, and it deserves a lot of the love that it gets. Like so many tracks, I can't say that I hate any track. Right? They're all just different degrees of.
I can.
No, I won't. Right? Because hey, it's still a track, right?
Yeah.
There are some I like better than others, for sure. Like when it comes to the British tracks, I'm a fan of Silverstone personally. I love that track, but I still at least like them all.
That's fair. No, I mean that's totally a valid opinion. Valid take. There are certainly tracks that I don't gel with, and I would prefer not to ever race.
Oh, well, now we're getting into a different topic, and I can bring up, the green hell. Everybody
Ooh.
loves the Nordschleife. Oh, off into the grass we go. Who do we got here, Williams?
That is Sean Williams, who's sitting P7. I would guess he may be going ahead and calling his quali there.
4 minutes left, yeah.
Giordano has rocketed up to the top of our provisional poll for our qualifying session here with a
Oh, look at that.
33.6. Anderson is improving quite a bit, and looks like he will be taking that away, assuming he can keep it clean the rest of the lap, which I would expect to happen, realistically, just based off of what we've seen so far.
Anything can happen. He's only halfway through the lap.
This is true.
Just to revisit for a second, so I don't leave people hanging here. I know that others share this opinion as well on the Nordschleife. Everybody loves the Nordschleife, I think. Some of us just like to drive it and not race it, and I'm one of those. I love driving it. I am horrible at racing it.
I love the Nordschleife in vintage air-cooled Porsches.
Oh yeah, good call.
I do not care for it in GT3s, personally.
Yep, I'm no good either.
I was one of those things, as Giordano goes right to the top with a 33.1, almost half a second clear. Giordano,
Anderson takes
Garrity's
the
going
pole.
to improve.
Anderson took pole with a 133.1.
Yep.
Yep.
And Garrity's going to fall in right behind him with a 33.5. Anderson really setting the pace and the tone here in the second half of the season. We said earlier he's gone 3 straight. Looking like he might be, well, I shouldn't say might be. Looking like he really wants to make it 4 in a row.
Well, I mean, that is kind of what we expected, isn't it? And that Mustang is going to eat the curbs better than some of the other cars. So that gives them an advantage as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to take a look at Moffat right here. Looks like he's going to improve about 1.5 tenths. Should help him move up 1 or 2 spots. Yeah, it looks like he's going to improve. He's still 7 tenths off. Sitting in P6 right behind Madison, who's still sitting in the top 5 from our silver qualifying session.
Yep, still 2 silvers left in the top 10. Madison and Rosenthal.
Let's see, who is having some good improvement? Penny is about 3 tenths up, 4 tenths up. We'll check in with Foster. He's a little closer to the end of his lap. See exactly where able to end up. And he looks like he went invalid and is dropping time now, unfortunately.
You know, we got some talk from the chat here saying, I do not like Nords. It can go away.
Thank you, chat. Thank you for having the objectively correct opinion.
Right, sure. Come on.
Look, I like the Nordschleife for air-cooled Porsches. I like the Nordschleife for old-school cars. Modern, high-downforce cars. Just don't think it's a good fit.
And
You're
we
free to
ran
disagree.
we ran it in SRA last season, and what, they got 4 laps, 5 laps, 5 or 6 laps.
I actually didn't participate in last season, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it was you know, special rules just to be able to qualify, because a lap is 9 minutes, even in, or something like that. So chat, tell me what a lap time is. For Nordschleife, because I can't remember right now, but I know that it's basically the entirety of your qualifying time of 10 minutes. It
100% is, even with your Joker lap. A full lap time for the GP section and the Nordschleife, I run like an 8:19 to an 8:15, depending on how clean the lap is.
There you go. Okay, 8. Yeah.
When I was first starting it, I think like 8:30s. Like 32, 33. So, figure 8.5 minutes is a good safe time to just kind of use as a blanket statement. So by the time you do your out lap and you cut off the Nordschleife section and you just kind of blow through the pits and then start there, you're at the end of your
time.
Yeah.
And if you invalidate. Yeah. So back to the racing. Where are we at?
Williams is going to improve up to P4. Maddesy is going to drop down to P7, still sitting inside the top 10, along with Rosenthal for the silver drivers. But Anderson is going to remain unchallenged. Giordano is going to pick up a position and hop up to P2. Actually, he's going to get replaced by Stephen Dutton here.
Stephen Dutton coming up into second place.
33-2, so just over a tenth off of Anderson. So we could have a really good battle up here. The top 3, there's not a huge gap, a little over a quarter of a second. And then as we move back between P3 and P11, there's effectively 7/10 of a gap. So certainly
gonna be a little tight.
Yeah, certainly there's some potential for some really outstanding racing here.
And by the way, for those who might be interested, the chat has answered. Nordschleife, 8 minute and 10 to 8 minute and 20 seconds. I think that sounds about right.
I think that's a little quick, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, maybe for faster drivers, it depends. Not you, me, and you.
Yeah. I mean, I like to fancy myself a reasonably fast driver, but I mean, I guess not.
No, I know better. I know better. No, and I don't mean you. I mean me. Yeah.
So that is going to be Anderson, Dutton, Giordano, Garrity, Williams, Hopkins, Maddesy, Moffat, Rosenthal, and Cumber for our top 10. And while we wait for everything to get started on the formation lap, let's go ahead and have a word from our sponsors.
A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a big thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high quality sim rigs and accessories, use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. AT3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience today with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style, elevate every lap with top tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. Go Setups, premium esports setups for everybody. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Castle and Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specializing in handmade Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts and Fairy World collectibles. Magic wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, costumery, cosplay, and much more. Castle and Cauldron is where crafting meets the magical. Visit facebook.com/Castle Cauldron. And from KP Concepts, your source for custom automotive renderings, graphic design, and printing. We spend countless hours making you look all good for the spectacle. Check out kpconcepts.com for more.
All right, we are back and our drivers are just starting to pull away here for our formation lap. We're gonna hop on board here for the first bit of this track with Steven Music, just so you guys can kind of get a sense of what these drivers are going to be seeing as they make their way around this track on the opening laps. We do have an 8 p.m. start time, so you can see this is already going to be a little bit treacherous just from the lighting conditions here.
Yes, entirely possible we're going to end up dark for the checkered flag to fall. I can see that the track is already at optimum though, and temperature is dropped by about, 4 or 5 Celsius?
Yeah, track temperature dropped about 5. It was sitting around 26, 27 there in qualifying. Biggest thing is, spots like this where there's no sun bearing down on the track anymore, you're going to start to see grip go away in some of these spots.
That's true. That's true.
Well, and this is that turn 4 island bend that we were talking about where you can carry a ton of speed, but you got to be careful. You get out into the grass over there, you can very quickly end up in the wall.
In that wall.
And that is going to be an RTE, turn to garage, if you end up there. You can see right here the visibility is already pretty abysmal.
Rough. Yeah, very rough going into Britain's here. Which, that sausage curb there especially will send you flying if you take too much of it.
Yeah.
And up over the hill, you get a pretty decent sight line here. Catch your markers on the left-hand side. Hopefully nobody has knocked them out. But once again, coming into Hislop here, right, left, that sausage curb, or that, it doesn't look like much of a sausage there, but that one will still give you trouble.
Yeah, and through that first chicane that you're talking about, both of those first two, the entry and then the middle curves there, as music gets a little bit unsettled. Both of them will bleed some pressure out of the tires too, so you got to watch that. Thankfully, here in our SRA GT3 Team Series, we do run a mandatory pit stop with a mandatory tire change, so it's less of an issue compared to some of our previous seasons where there has been a mandatory stop but no mandatory tire change. So you don't have to make the tires last the full hour like you kind of needed to in some of the previous seasons. So that'll make some of the races like tonight or Pano a little bit easier, I think. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Zolder, not Pano. And we are going green now. Take a look, and the Giordano is nowhere to be found here. Did he get shuffled back?
He is in 4th.
We've got a car off. But it looks like, aside from the little off-track excursion of Steve Foster, unfortunately, we are happy to say that everyone has made it through live. Oh, and Giordano's
we've already
off,
got-
and there's a Lexus, I think that was.
Yep. And Island Bend takes its first victims.
Yep. It is a tough one to get through, especially lap 1. If you're trying to go side by side with anyone, it really doesn't work. And
Yeah, that's probably what happened here.
and even just on cold tires, it's really difficult to make that happen. I could have sworn I saw a car get into the wall up at the kind of exit of turn 5 there, but maybe I'm imagining things, or maybe they just went ahead and said, nope, I am not dealing with this. Peace out, y'all. So I'm still showing 28. Oh, it looks like that might have been Melanson.
Listen.
You hate to see that.
Yeah, right now Giordano is also down 25 spots and struggling to get back to the pits, it looks like.
Yeah, the tough start for both of these guys. Giordano's teammate Landon P looks like he's going to try to make a move here on Scott Johnson. He's going to back out, yield the room. He didn't have a good amount of overlap to try and force anything there, and with the way this track is, I do not blame him for backing out and just kind of saying, we've got an hour, 57 minutes left. There's no need to force the issue right now.
I was just about to say, it is far too early in the race to be getting that brave. The cars are all still pretty much together. We are on the second lap here, right? We're just on our second lap. Tires are still just coming up, you know. And as you said, with the track cooling off, we're definitely seeing some cars go off track already. Some are going to be able to correct, some are not.
Yeah, and especially
probably smart to let the pack, you know, spread out a little bit and wait for your matchup. As the adage goes, you're not going to win the race in turn 1, not unless you're already in first, I suppose.
Well, you can't win it in turn 1, but you certainly can lose it.
Yes, you can.
As Williams makes his way around Hopkins here, put himself up into P4, going around the outside of T last with a really nicely executed move. Hopkins, it looks like he's got Moffat and Cumber both kind of trying to chip away at him, see if they can make a move happen. Cumber really trying to bear down on Moffat as much as he can. Got some of this
like he was gonna...
a little further back as well. It looks like Rosenthal may have dropped down a couple of spots. I believe he started P8, maybe P9. Sitting in P10 right now. Having a close little battle here with Bustersky and Rudderham right behind him.
Yeah, Rosenthal started 9th. He's now just down 1 to 10th. That's not too bad. Bustersky was 12th. He's up 3 spots. Cumber was 10th. He's up 3 spots to 7th. Other than that, the top 5 are all pretty stable. Most of them are up 1, and that's just because of the unfortunate luck for Giordano.
Yeah, and we're looking at Garrity currently has fastest lap of the race, obviously just on the tail end of lap 2. So, yeah, or tail end of lap 3, 2, 3, one or the other.
Yeah, 3. Yep.
Very
3.
early in
And
the race. That's the moral of the story here. Dutton's going to nab it away from him with a 34.5 though. Anderson sitting at a 34.8 last time around with his fastest lap. And Garrity fell back a little bit at a 35 flat. Garrity really does need to go ahead and get around Dutton as quickly as he can if he wants to have a shot at getting around Anderson as well, because Anderson, as we've seen in the past, can kind of check out, and especially at a track like Oulton here, you cannot give him that kind of an advantage if you want to beat him. Check back in a little further back in the pack here. We've got a tight train run in here from really P5 all the way down through 12. No one really trying to force the move quite yet. No need to, really. Still very early in the race, just over right at 6 minutes in. Although, looks like Rimsk is going to go ahead and make a move on Rudderham. Pick up a spot there. Try to make sure he doesn't start losing ground through Rosenthal. Rudderham's going to fight back. Ooh, that could have gotten nasty right there. Rudderham's going to head off track there on a little expedition. He's going to drop back in the pack a bit, unfortunately.
You know, when they say touch grass, I don't think that's what they mean.
No, I don't believe so. And we're going to see Madisy and Uspersky go side by side here into turn 1. Uspersky is going to just nudge Madisy out wide and hold the position for the time being. It's going to let Rosenthal pop through as well, so he's going to take up P9 here. Dutton setting a new fastest lap of the race with a 34.4. Garrity, sorry, right behind him with another 34.4 600ths off though, so losing a little bit of ground to Dutton here. So far early in the race, it looks like Dutton might be the one who is going to challenge Anderson.
Yeah, that 134.4 isn't too bad with the sun going down and track temperatures cooling off. We're not going to see as fast race times as we did quali times, but that's still a pretty good time.
Oh, absolutely it is. Take a look back here with P23.45 as Giordano is trying to get around Taft and Tenney. And he's going to have Greer right on his butt, trying to get around him, get that position back. Uh-oh, looks like Lacey is off and spun around.
Oh no!
Not what we want to see.
Not at all. Lacey is one of my fellow commentators in Division 5. I always want to see him do well, and so is Ramirez there. We've got a tight group here. Who are they all behind?
Looks like this is... Nope, this is a separate group. This is Rudderham trying to get around Rafcad. Make that position back up after he had his little off-track excursion.
Looks like he might have just done. That is a lot of cars all together. And he's off into the grass. Yep. Island Bend claims another victim.
He is at least going to get stopped in time. He does have an escape road here. Well, escape route is probably the better way to phrase that. But he does have
rejoining
to...
Yeah.
Yeah, he does have to wait for that coast to clear up so that he can rejoin safely.
Yeah, that was a costly mistake right there.
Very. That's going to bump him all the way down to P26.
But I empathize. I have been there myself several times on this track. And in the rain, forget about it.
Oh, man, this track is treacherous in the dry. In the wet, man, it's... I love this track, but in the wet, it is... It's an experience, I'll say that.
It is an experience. That is a great way to say it.
And I will say it's at least an experience that when you're finished with it, you say, you know what? I did it. I feel stronger for it. I don't want to do that again for a while.
Yeah. You know, the saying, living the dream. Oh. Missed the pit entry?
I am not quite sure. We're going to take a look.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
What was he? Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I don't know if maybe he had like a hardware issue.
Possibly. Started to go wide. That's okay. Didn't look like he was going to go in the wall, turn into it. It's way early for pits. I mean, you could be pitting now, but
You could if you're going for a really crazy undercut, but
Yeah, might have just had an equipment malfunction there.
yeah, that's what I would think. That looked too sketchy.
Yeah. Well, it fits into what I was gonna say. Is that happened? Is that everybody knows the saying, "Living the dream." Well, nightmares are dreams. Just
I'm living someone's dream.
right. And this track can definitely be a nightmare in the wet. But
Nightmare in the dry as Giordano is going to lose that position that he had worked so hard to gain. It's a little bit wide there coming into this back section, and that is a treacherous curb because that outside edge of it can cut the tires a little bit, and past it, it just kind of falls away a little bit, and so you end up getting bounced something fierce.
yeah, we have quite the train of 7 cars behind Demler. And then towards the front, they're a little stacked up there. I believe you're looking at Moffett. We're looking at Moffett right now. Behind Hopkins, trying to make that move. Ahead of Hopkins, though, the leaders have Anderson, Dutton, Garrity, Williams, Cumber have started to spread out already. We're seeing anywhere from 2 to almost 6-second gaps. But
yeah, the top 4 especially have really checked out and started to separate themselves from the rest of the group. You know, Anderson, Dutton, Garrity, and Williams. Cumber is broken out a little bit, but he's still close there as Hopkins. Looks like he loses the rear end there. And Moffat is going to benefit with a free position.
yeah, as for the whole rest of that group, it looks like.
Yeah, that's going to bump Hopkins all the way down to P12, it looks like, is where he's going to rejoin the track.
There's still time to make it up.
Absolutely there is. Mattisey has fought his way back up to 8. He's gotten back around Rosenthal.
Yeah, you know,
And-
it's funny. We went from a punishing track last week at Mount Panorama that a mistake means, especially towards the top of the mountain, means putting you into the wall and could be race over. We went from that to a track that is punishing in a completely different way,
Yeah.
where there's so little runoff, or actually no runoff in most cases, that if you go outside, then you're sliding, you're touching grass. So really, some really tough courses as we're starting to round out the end of season 13 here.
Yeah, well, and really this has been overall kind of a tough season in general for track selection. You know, we started out with, I would say, 3 really good, fun tracks. Watkins is a little bit treacherous just because of the bus stop can sometimes bounce you weird. But overall, Watkins is not a super punishing track in general, in my eyes.
Hey, tell me all about it. The bus stop at Watkins is where my season ended.
Ooh, well, I'm sorry to bring that up specifically then.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It happens.
But so we had those 3 races. Suzuka, obviously, very manicured track. There's a lot of runoff at most of the corners. Misano, there's a ton of runoff almost everywhere. And then we go into Wet Nürburgring, which is a pretty notable challenge. Then we go into Zolder with chicanes that will just RNG you into the abyss. Then Mount Pano last week. Now we're at Oulton Park. So it's a run of 4 pretty challenging tracks, if only for the conditions. And then of course, you know, the last 3, including this week, are also just challenging in general, or I should say punishing in general.
Agreed. And if I'm not mistaken, we're finishing at Valencia next week, right?
Yes, we are. And Dutton, just to bring this back to this race, Dutton has closed in on Anderson a little bit. He's cut that gap from 2 seconds down to just half a second. Now, I don't know if... Looks like Anderson made a mistake last time around. Because I'm seeing his last lap as a 36.6 and invalid. So I think he just had a bobble. But
He probably went off track. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
But showing a little gap in the armor there, Dutton can latch onto that. He can make some magic happen here. And that would be Dutton's first win of the season, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not just outright forgetting something.
I am not sure, but you got to imagine that he's seeing his opportunity get closer, especially considering how spread out the top 6 cars were. So that you know, that's going to be the difference between doing well at this track and not, is having your mistakes be small mistakes, having them be correctable mistakes.
Absolutely.
And or simply surviving that mistake. So yeah, you know, Anderson's already back down to a 134.8 on his last lap. So he had a mistake, cost him 2 seconds, but he was obviously able to correct and get back on it. So Dutton's now in his rearview mirror, as Dutton, I think, just made a little bit of a dip off the track. But, you know, that's all Anderson really needs now, is to just say, okay, I made my mistake, fine, focus, just over 40 minutes to go.
It looks like we're going to see Giordano make the overtake on Scott Johnston here going into turn 3.
Giordano definitely fighting back, up in 18th, 17th position now.
Yes, he is.
Makes the move, gets it done on Johnston, going through Shell's Oil corner there.
Yep, and they are pulling Steven Music right along with them, and Music looks like he is ready to capitalize on any sort of mistake from Johnston. Checking with Madison real quick, because he's closing in on the back of Rimsk, who was right on Rosenthal. Looks like he's fallen off just a little bit. I assume some sort of a small mistake, maybe. That Bentley is an intimidating car, from my understanding, to have in your rearview mirror. Very imposing presence, as I'm told.
Yep, definitely. As I was racing with these guys last season, that Bentley it seemed to be everywhere, and as he's trying to make the move there, just couldn't quite make it happen, just waiting for his moment.
I'm going to cut away over to Sean Williams real quick, as he is closed right up onto the back of Garrity, and he is itching to make a move, put himself into a podium position, and help retain some of this points lead that he's got.
Yeah, the front seems to have tightened up behind Anderson a little bit, where we were all several seconds apart.
Looks like...
Oh, did we... Yep, looks like...
Yep, Williams.
Garrity must have missed a braking point. Was it Williams?
That was Williams that missed his braking point going into that second chicane. And took the quote-unquote shortcut through, as Madison looks like he blows it too. Just runs through it. It's a tough chicane to get right.
Well,
speaking
like
of
we were talking
chicanes,
about going flying. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of chicanes, we've got a tight group coming through that first chicane right now. Dutton's still holding right onto the back of Anderson there, just 4/10ths off. We're keeping an eye on that. Madison still holding on to the back of Rimsk pretty closely. Williams trying to close back up onto Garrity.
You know, we have such a tight group there, and going into some of these hard braking zones into the chicanes, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen as many bumper thumpers. So everybody's doing pretty good.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'd love to see everything stay that way.
Right.
Ooh, as Dutton has closed right up onto the back of Anderson. They're going to come out of that big bold turn, turn 5, and head into this first chicane. Dutton being a little bit cautious around that entry curve. Wonder if he's already bled off some pressure. Or maybe he's realized he can take that more cautious line, not have to worry about upsetting the car, and not lose anything really to Anderson. He is staying right on the back of him. And Williams has got right back up to Garrity and is harassing him as much as he can. I mean, if he gets any closer, we're going to have a bumper thumper like you were talking about.
Right. Interesting. I'm getting a word here. Looks like we need you to press insert.
There we go. I believe that's what the people wanted.
That is what the people want and what they will get.
Well, they're going to get what I think they want, whether they want what I think they want or not, or whether they're wanting something that I don't think they want. But if that's the case, they can voice their desires, and I will try to accommodate. But I make no further promises beyond that.
We're doing the best we can here. The chat is happy. You're getting Movo's giving you a heart.
Aww.
Right?
Well, thank
they
you.
already appreciate your heart.
Movo, I'm sending a heart your way too, my OBDA buddy. Uh-oh, as Landon P is off. That is coming out of turn 1. I'm wondering if he maybe... I think we might have missed where we can get to him in a replay. And Foster has closed right up onto the back of Demler and is giving him as much heck as he can. Williams is still sitting right at a half a second off of Garrity. Not quite able to make anything happen just yet. And Rudderham is closed right up onto the back of that Robichaud 357. Yes, the Robichauds should be getting a blue flag right now. Oh, he won't be getting a blue flag because he's got Ramirez behind him. So Ramirez will be getting the blue flag. Yeah, Foster really hanging on to the back of Demler here, just trying to force an error. Robichaud looks like he's going to try to have a look up the inside here to unlap himself.
And does he get it done?
I don't think he's going to quite make it happen.
No, and it looks like, is that music there that's saying,
Yep.
hey, thank you? No, it's Foster in 161. Right behind him. Oh, 720. Williams is off.
Yeah, it looks like he missed that breaking point again.
Oh, and that was a very tight re-entry. But he looks like he made it work.
Yeah, he made it safe, but only just. And now he's got to deal with Cumber. Well, he's showing enough pace, I think he can probably break away. And so Robichaud's made his way around Stephen Music. Oh, no, he's made his way around Stephen Foster. Gonna try to make his way around Demler in an effort to unlap himself. Oh, and that is going to be Music getting spun around there and having a little bit of trouble getting himself righted and rejoined. Hate to see that. And Foster's off too. Both of the Better Call Steve cars having some trouble here right around that second chicane. And it looks like Foster may even... I think he's going to hold the place for now, but Landon P is right on him trying to force another error.
Well, if they've got any damage they need to take care of, we're getting into the pit window now, so at least that's fortuitous. They can get that. Well, they can choose whether and he's going in right now. That's probably the right call.
Yeah, I don't think it's the wrong call. We're
go ahead
close
and just
enough
get it
in that
taken
way.
care of.
We can go ahead, and now that I think all the track isn't covered in shade, most of it is.
Hey, from the chat here, Matt Melanson, his PC has crashed and he is out.
Oh no, Matt, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. See a little bit of contact, and sorry, apologies if it sounds like I'm dismissing that. We see a little contact here from Rosenthal and Music. A little bit of a hip check.
No, We got a lot of action going on right now. I just wanted to report
Yeah.
in from that.
Melanson, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
hear that, man. We were looking forward to seeing you out there on track.
That's never a good day. You do your
No.
work, and then to have it, a hardware failure to get you,
Yeah.
or software potentially. If the game crashed, he's saying. I guess, yeah. Specifically, he's saying his game crashed, not his PC crashed. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, it's one of those things where, it almost hurts worse when it's something that's totally out of your control that takes you out of the race. It's not like it was even a crash that you didn't have time to react to. It's not like it was your own mistake. It's just ACC just said, huh, nope. It hurts, man.
it does, and I gotta tell you that sometimes when it happens, though, it seems like it is the only form of mechanical failure that we actually have in our series racing, because we don't have, random. I don't even think ACC has the ability to do that with random failures, and therefore your race is over, right?
Right, I don't
but
believe so.
in real life, random failures happen. So
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of see it that way, and that's racing. Some days that's racing, where you have a failure and your race is over, and no fault to your own.
Yeah. And I see the merit in that viewpoint. On the flip side of it, to me, this is a hobby. Most of us are not here making paychecks off of sim racing. And so to have it in like that is, I don't know, it to me, it hurts more than it would if it was an actual car, although certainly it doesn't hurt the pocketbook near as hard.
I was just about to say there's all kinds of hobbyists in real cars where that's the way it goes down. Heck, that's my long-standing joke, is that I do this kind of racing because I can't afford hobby racing.
Yeah. Man, can you imagine racing real cars? That would be such a terrible experience.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. No,
That's what I have to tell myself that every day.
As the saying goes, do you know how to make a small fortune in racing?
Start with a large one.
Start with a large one. Looks like Rudderham is staying out, and did Demler just go into the pit? They were fighting there for a while.
Yeah, Demler hopped off into the pits there. I think he's going to go ahead and take a stop. I think he might have been catching a little bit of heat there from Rudderham, but decided just to go ahead and back out and not worry about losing any time fighting.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of things have kind of spread out. We've got a battle here going on between Scott Johnson and Alex Giordano.
I was just about to say that looking at the track map, things are got real spread out while we were jawboning, huh?
Yeah, we still got Anderson leading, followed by Dutton, who has fallen back almost 4 seconds. Garrity almost another 6 seconds back from him. Sean Williams and Kyle Cumber dives off into the pit, so Moffat will inherit 5.
Well, looking down the order here, it looks like your top 12 have yet to pit, with a couple stragglers, 14th and Music and 16th behind that haven't pit. Well, actually, Music's in the pit right now. Ansem's in the pit. Cumber's in the pit. So we're starting to see everybody really come in and finish off there. As these drivers are coming out of their pit, we're probably going to see them, tighten up again, at least for a while. At least some groups.
Yeah, I would think so. I was thinking Landon P might have been pitting, but looks like he just had a little bit of an accident coming out of that second chicane there. Got into the wall. Like we said before, that's a really treacherous kind of exit corner there, that right-hander right after that second chicane.
Oh, the Knickerbrook, the right-hander after Hislops?
Yes, I believe so. That right-hander after that second chicane.
Yeah, that inside curb there. That's just another one on this track. You can't take it too aggressive. It will punish you.
Yeah, it's tough. It looks like Garrity's actually heading into the pits now. Oh, no, he is not. He has had some issue of some variety or flavor. Now he is diving off into the pits. Giordano's still here trying to get around Scott Johnston and work his way back up the field. And it's got to be a frustrating race for him. You know, starting up there, P3, 4? Right up there in the top 5. And, you know, just to have that lap 1 going wide there at Island Bend and losing all your positions right off the bat. It's
second place. He qualified second.
Yeah, there you go. So it's frustrating, and unfortunately it seems like that's been not an uncommon kind of scenario for him this season.
Yeah, I guess I'm not aware of that one, but it does tend to happen.
See a car off number 98. I think that's going to be Henry Ramirez there in turn 3.
Oh no, both of my commentating buddies from D5 having trouble today.
Man, hate to see it.
Well, you know, some days are better than others. All you can do is just try to fight back, keep with it.
Looks
Giordano. Yep, right here. Speaking of which, trying to get past Johnson. They're fighting back and forth. He really wants that placing to be able to kind of keep moving up, but Johnston says, I don't think so. But he's got the inside line right now, going into.
Yield it, though.
Yep. Probably the smart call.
Yeah, way too easy for things to go wrong. They're trying to make that side by side.
I thought he almost had it.
Yeah, I thought he did too. I think he backed out, just anticipating, you know, man, what if Johnson just cuts over?
Well,
cuts across.
I wonder
the
how much
he could have had a bad run coming out of that final corner and just lost overlap and said, "That can't make it happen right now."
You also got to wonder how much the beginning of the race is still weighing on his mind and him saying, "Nope, not taking the chance."
Yeah, I get what you mean. On the same token, you're sitting P18 halfway through the race. My mindset is going to be send it. Keep it clean. Keep it clean, but send it. I mean, you know, really, your race is almost over, or it's essentially you're so far back that it's you know almost doesn't matter. So just try to make as much forward progress as you can.
Yeah, I guess for me, I totally get what you're saying with the send it. For me though, keep it clean is got to be priority. If you can't.
Oh, well, 100%. And I should add that disclaimer. I don't mean send it and consequences be damned, but, you know, I do mean...
As you go through the inside again, they were pretty close there. A little bit of a bump.
Looks like
Giordano makes it happen.
Is gonna, yep,
going through Lodge Corner, it looked like. He was able to get that done.
Yeah, I think he may have just not had a great run out of it. And I think I have a little bit of a reputation as being one of the more aggressive drivers. I do generally keep it clean. Of course, we're all human. We all make mistakes here and there, so.
No, I'm definitely not arguing against, you know, rolling the bones and taking your chance. I'm also saying you can only let it ride so many times before it comes up snake eyes.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, looks like everyone has pit now, most of everyone.
Aside from the top three are still out and running. Anderson, Dutton, and Williams. Williams has, up until Pano, really been a fan of the very late stops. I would expect him to stay out another probably 3 laps. Come in right around the 20-minute mark.
I'm going to agree with that. If you're towards the front, you want to just stay out as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, I'm looking at them right now as Anderson actually goes into the pits for his pit stop.
Yeah, he must have heard us talking.
Anderson and Williams. Williams pitting earlier than I was thinking he would have. Certainly earlier than he was doing at the start of the season. A little surprised at that because I think they were pretty well in clean air. Got one car in front of that lead group, car 640. I want to say that's Tenney.
I'm not sure. We're still looking at Garrity right now on screen, so
Yeah, so we've got Dutton coming up on Hopkins, but then once we get to Hopkins, we've got a pretty good stretch of clean air in front, so I'm a little bit surprised to see that they went ahead and took their pit stop instead of just pushing it while they've got that clean air. Maybe their tires were starting to go away. They said this is a good time to go ahead and get some tires that are correctly pressured. They've been bleeding off air through the chicane, especially I've got to think Anderson has been. He's been really using those the entry curves for that first chicane as much as he can. And
yeah,
then,
I gotta say, I was expecting a lot of these cars to group up a lot more after the pits, but that does not seem to be the case. They are still quite spread out. Track times seem to be fairly consistent across the group. Track temperature has only dropped to 1 degree Celsius to 21. The sun has gone down, but we have not quite got dark yet with 23:32 left to go.
yeah, but there is one caveat here, and the game doesn't do a great job of making that information visible. But as the sun has dipped down and is no longer on any parts of the track, the whole surface, even though it says optimum and it's only cooled down a degree, you're going to see quite a bit less grip, in my experience. As we watch Greer go wide through turn 1 there, that is going to let Rudderham close right up onto the back of him. And we're going to see Dutton in the pits right now. He is the last of our pit stops. And he will hand the lead back to Anderson.
And there goes Greer. Once again, Island Bend.
Ooh,
Island
man.
Bend.
He got really close to that wall.
Yeah, so you got to imagine Giordano's pretty happy about that. One more spot that he gets to pick up as he was sitting behind them waiting for something to happen, and it certainly did.
Yep, we've got Garrity, Moffat, and Cumber. Cumber leading this group of 3. All in a little 3-way battle here. But a lot of gaps out here on the track, 2 to 3 second range. Giordano started to close up on the back of Rudderham. He's just under a second off. Lacey's closed up on the back of Demler, about half a second off. But no one really close enough to start making moves quite yet. Although it looks like we may see Garrity try something on Cumber here very shortly.
I'd also like to mention that Giordano is closing in on Rudderham. So he's definitely still on his push.
He's backing off a little bit right now.
Just backed up, yeah.
That commentator's curse.
Yep, right as I mentioned something. He was within 0.6, I think. And must have made just a teeny little mistake there.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on him and Lacey, just to see if maybe one of them can catch up. Moffat's closed up onto the back of Garrity. I think Garrity might have slipped up just a little bit. Let Cumber build a little bit of a gap. He was sitting about half a second off. He's sitting about 1.5 seconds off now. Up on and see if Moffat can make any sort of magic happen here. That American V8 power.
And in a very, very American livery.
Incredibly. Dare I say the most American livery.
I can hear the Team America theme song playing now. We won't sing it for you. This is a family program.
So you're hearing the America theme. I'm hearing the Top Gun theme right there.
Top Gun, yeah, another good one.
Giordano's still sitting about 0.8 off of Rudderham. And Lacey looks like he just made a little mistake and he's going to drop back to about 2, maybe even 3 seconds off of Demler. And let Foster close right up onto him. Moffat not quite able to do anything about Garrity yet. Garrity needs to keep this position to try and keep some championship points hopes alive. Especially with the Anderson out in front closing down the gaps.
Yeah, Anderson's got a 3.5 second gap on second place Dutton right now.
Yeah, well, and Anderson's sitting 4th in points, so he's making a title run in just half a season.
For sure, Sean Williams, who's in 3rd place right now, is still the overall points leader. With as we were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast here, with Garrity 73 points behind, Moffitt 94 points behind, and Anderson only 112 points behind. So, you know,
it would be a big ask.
Yeah, Williams being in 3rd place, as long as he's able to keep things clean here for the last less than 20 minutes. 112 points is still a lot to be able to catch up between this race and potentially what could happen next week at Valencia. But did you say he came from D5 to 4 mid-season?
Yeah, he joined
Not
us.
even-
He joined us here in Division 4 for Misano.
Oh wow! So yeah, that's
So for round 3, he had some trouble there at Misano.
I
but
foresee
then-
him moving on up to D3 next season.
Oh, 100%. I honestly could even see him going up to D.
Well, as we were talking about, you know, depending on how accurate you view the hot lap times to be, as I was saying, the top 14 drivers in D4, the D4 drivers we're watching here, all put in D2 times or better.
Yeah. Now,
So-
I don't put a ton of stock into where that is, but I do put a good amount of stock into where that is relative to other people in a given division. So if you're sitting amongst some of the, you know, let's say top 15 consistent in D2,
Yep.
I'm going to expect you to probably be in D, realistically.
Yeah.
Especially if
Yeah,
your
the
winning
numbers-
race is in D.
Yeah. The numbers are an okay guide, but really you got to look at relative, how you are relative to other drivers. You're absolutely right.
You see, it looks like Dimmler might have made a mistake or had some sort of trouble. Lacey is going to get around him, pull him up into P19. Giordano has still right around a second off of Rudderham, but Rudderham has closed up right onto the back of Taft here. Moffat is closing right up on Garrity. Garrity closing up on Kyle Cumber here. So we're starting to see some of these battles coming right back up into play.
Yeah, we definitely have a little group here. Are we in the...
And
No.
Gusterski looks like he's dropping right into that range as well, where he is under a second off of Moffitt.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at was Cumber, Garrity, Moffitt, Buterski, or Busterski, all together there real close. Towards the front.
Yeah, good battle for,
3/4 of the way done.
I'm going to say good battle for 5th, but really it's a good battle for 4th.
Yeah. Yeah, because Cumber is 9 seconds behind Williams, so the front 3 have pretty much just about checked out at this point.
Yeah,
as long
pretty
as they're able to stay clean. So we're fighting for points here towards the middle of the top 10.
Yeah, his top 3 have pulled out about a 9-second gap, so 15 minutes left. I mean, obviously not impossible. Mistakes can always happen. If Cumber manages to, you know, unlock some pace, that could change the landscape a little bit, but I think the top 3 are pretty much... I'd be a little surprised if they don't finish in their current order.
Yeah. It's all about keeping it clean. The grass is lava.
Absolutely. There's certainly 15 minutes of racing. Anything can happen there. But of the 3, I don't think Dutton's necessarily going to push too much unless it's just to try and maintain a gap to Williams. Williams I could see pushing a little. But Humber I think is going to push as much as he needs to stay in front of Garrity. And that's about it. So at a certain point, you know, really these top 3 guys can almost just kind of go on cruise control. Williams is in front of Garrity, so he's not got a real threat to points. Anderson's a little too far back to do anything with this race. in terms of the season point standings. So, I mean, unless Williams or Dutton thinks that they can get the win, which to me is looking pretty unlikely, as Anderson is sitting at a 33 Ford as his fastest. And the next closest is Williams with a 33.8. So a 4/10 delta there. Granted, best lap doesn't mean everything. But
No, and it does look like, you know, Cumber's trying to pull away from Garrity quite a little bit. But
yeah.
Moffitt and Boosterski still tight behind, just kind of waiting for a mistake.
Yeah, we've got a good battle going on here, but I still think those top three, they're going to almost put on cruise control and just bring it home.
Yeah, no, they're just going through some
I think
some blue flag traffic here.
Yeah, I think there's a little too much risk for them to really try anything else. And it looks like Rudderham is going to go and take another pit stop.
Really?
Yeah, I wonder if he must have picked up some damage somehow, some way, somehow.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. It's
Moffat still trying to get around Garrity, not able to make anything happen here. Usterski sitting right there, half a second off of him. Waiting in the...
hey, I'd just like to call something out here.
Oh.
We have lost Giordano. He has disconnected.
No.
Yep, we've only got one Honda on track of LP. I was just going down to be able to check where he was at, because he's been fighting his way up, and
yeah,
all of a sudden he's gone.
That's interesting, because I still show him, or I still show 27 drivers. We started with 28. Yep. I wonder where he's at exactly.
I don't know.
Well, I think the answer is he has disconnected, like you said. Horizon's still showing 27 drivers, though, given that information.
I can see it here in the log. Car disconnected. Giordano. Guessing he just had a equipment issues, because he was fighting, he was doing well. I didn't see a crash unless we missed it. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, it could just be that we missed something and he said, forget this.
Nope. Yeah, I think I'm seeing him in the chat right here. Someone took me out at full speed in Sector 3. Race over.
Man.
Oh, it was an accident. It was not an equipment failure. That's unfortunate. We're sorry to hear that, bud.
That's upsetting, because you were making a good run back up through the field. Looks like Madison has gone off and picked up some front end damage. That hood is rather not in the right position.
Yeah, not the way it's supposed to look.
He'll go and take a pit stop to get that repaired. Check back in with Moffat here, still trying to get around Garrity. He can close up onto the back of him, but he can't quite make the move happen, at least not yet. Steven Music trying to get around Robichaud here.
Oh!
What's happened?
Towards the front, Moffat just had, I think he might have bumped one of the other cars. It could have been close. I don't know if you can go back about 60 seconds and you'll see, and then he had to go off track and rejoin.
Going into the first chicane, or?
I can't remember exactly where it was. I just caught it briefly. Here you go.
Okay, yep. Coming out of that first chicane there, it just looks like he got loose.
Yeah, yep, probably right now that I'm seeing it on replay. And hey, only lost one spot, was able to get back on it. Manageable errors on this track.
Yep.
Manageable errors.
Still cost him a position, but much better than some of these other errors we've seen where it costs 3 to 20.
Yeah, one position, fine on this track.
Frustrating, but livable.
Yep.
Garrity has really closed up onto the back of Cumber here, sitting just 2/10 off as they go into Island Bend. Not a lot you can do to really get around here. Far too risky to really try to make that too wide, even if you have a good run. Cumber really using those curves to try and stay out in front. Only 10 minutes left, so he should be okay on his tire pressures, assuming he doesn't get an actual puncture.
It's a funny trick on that curb that if you take it just right and straddle it, it doesn't bother you too bad.
Yeah.
But it's a dangerous gamble, because if you don't get it just right, you know.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Unfortunately, I know what you mean all too well.
Yep.
My first race here was back in Season 6. I was actually in the NSX. And it was during the 1.8 version, so the car was meta and the suspension was kind of wonky and had, I think, infinite compression range. But it would still get bucked in a couple of weird places. So you had to be careful, and you had to really set up that first chicane well. But I know what you're talking about with that. If you straddle it right, you can make it work. That's just if you get it a little bit wrong, the rear end gets bounced pretty wildly, and you end up in the tire wall in the background there.
Yep, big trouble. I almost thought about driving the NSX this season. I gave it a try, but it is a fun car, but it is unforgiving.
It is. I have always kind of stood by the belief that it's a really good training tool. It's a really good car for learning some management skills. But it's a difficult car to commit to a full season to, just because over the course of an hour race, it's not as forgiving as some of these others. You know, like the Bentley and Mustang, you can just abuse curbs and it doesn't matter. The BMW is kind of the same way.
And the AMG, Mercedes. Yep.
Yeah, and so, and then the McLaren too. As long as you're not getting too frisky with the curbs, you can do some silly stuff with it. And so
some. I spent 3 seasons in the McLaren, and there's some you get away with, and then let me put it this way: you get away with it until you don't, and when you don't,
well, and
then it's bad.
Yeah, and like I said, as long as you're not getting too frisky with the curbs, the McLaren will forgive a lot of other mistakes that don't involve curbs.
Right. Yep, that's true.
Which, it makes it a relatively easy car to learn. And just, you work around that one idiosyncrasy that it just flat out does not like curbs that much. But the NSX doesn't really love curbs, and it's very twitchy. Coming down the mountain at Pano, for example, it teaches you a lot about using maintenance throttle to keep the rear end straight. And in general, the rear end likes to swing around on that car, and so it teaches you a lot about how to kind of manage everything and keep the car in line and under check. Speaking of checks, we're going to check in with Sean Williams here, who is starting to take a little bit of time out of Dutton. I'm going to assume that has to do more with Dutton navigating some of these blue flags, as it looks like he's getting around Scott Johnston right now. That gap is cut down from 3.5. It looks like it had cut down to about 2.5, and it's back up towards 3.5 now. So 3.5. So I think that was really just a, I don't even want to say bobble, but just a factor of getting around some lap traffic. Done.
Yeah, we are now into the last 5 minutes of racing, so we've only got about 3 laps left, I would assume. Garrity is he just was within 7/10 of Cumber trying to make a run at it, but I can't imagine with as spread out as the pack is right now that too many drivers are going to be trying to make too many risky moves too late.
No, I think most drivers, you're right on the money, are just kind of going to be bringing it home at this point. Most of the field has spread out to the tune of, really at this point, more like 4 or 5 seconds. There's a couple of 3-second gaps, a couple like Garrity who are right around 1 second. And then Steven Music here, just 2/10 off of Robichaud, seeing if he can find a way around here in the closing stages of the race. Robichaud has been running a good defense though, and that Bentley is a wide car to get around. And Robichaud's been doing a great job of making it even wider.
Yep, it definitely is not small. Of course, I mean, isn't it the same width as the rest of the cars? But it feels bigger.
It's well. So the thing is, it's taller.
Is that it? It's taller.
It's taller because it's about the same footprint as like the 992, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember for a long time I was VR only, just due to space constraints. And I remember I was racing against Doug Mitchell one day, and I looked over. I realized I had to kind of like sit up a little bit and look over the windowsill of the car to see the roof of the Ferrari he was in. It's Bentley's is a tall car. You know, if you're in the 296, you look over, you just see the door handle. Garrity's still sitting about a second off of Cumber. So still holding down P5, not quite able to make anything happen, and I think kind of like you said, 2.5 minutes left. Well, he's closing it down. Take a quick check-in with him and just see if maybe he is able to make some magic happen.
It's pretty risky this late, but, you know, I mean...
Hey, it's risky because it's risky, but if he has tired out Kyle by making him defend so far...
I get going for it, yeah, right? I mean, you can't blame him.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He's got 2 minutes, basically one lap, 2 laps to be able to get it done.
I think he's going to have 2 laps. I think.
Where's the leader at?
Leader's just coming out of turn 5 and going into the first chicane right now.
Yeah, they'll have 2 laps. This lap and one more.
And he is really closed up here, sitting just 2/10 off. He knows it's go time. If he's gonna make anything happen, he has to make it happen now.
Getting awful close there, coming around Shell Oil's corner.
Yep, he is trying to fill up Kyle's mirror as much as he can. But he really needs to maximize this as much as he can, as we see a drive-through for Matisse, unfortunately, sitting down in P23. Been having a rough go of it this evening here in the second half of the race. It was really unfortunate to see because he qualified pretty well, P7 I believe. 7 P8 right in that range. Pole for the silver drivers.
Yeah, that's right. He qualified 7th in the top 10. Well, we've all been there.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
Did you say anything about him, though? No? See, that it wasn't a commentator. It wasn't a commentator curse then.
You're right. I didn't curse him. I did not curse him, and I can at least take solace in that.
See, people, we are not here to curse you. We're here to help you. But we sometimes curse you.
I mean, I wouldn't say help. That really depends on the person.
Well, I meant generally helpful in a pleasant way of we're rooting for you. So maybe not helpful, but, you know, I don't know. Okay, race time has expired. We are now on the last lap. Garrity still back there saying, come on, Cumber, make a mistake. I want 4th place.
Yeah, he's going to come through that first chicane a little bit slow, though, and he's going to let that gap open up. So I think he may just kind of be settling in and saying, there's no real way to force a move right now.
No.
And it seems like Cumber's been running a really good defense so far. So I don't know that he really would have been able to force a mistake so much either. Coming into the last couple of corners here. It does look like Vusterski has closed in on the back of Rosenthal, but it's not going to be close enough to make anything happen quite yet.
Well, Anderson across the finish line, followed by Dutton in 2nd place, Williams in 3rd, Cumber in 4th, Garrity 5th.
Ooh, and Vusterski is going to swing wide there. Looks like he'll let a blue flag by, but he's not going to lose any positions. He has enough of a gap over Buckley in P9. And we're going to have Garrity, Moffat, and Rosenthal finishing P7, the first of our silver drivers. And Buckley is going to wrap up 2 for our silvers, it looks like.
And hey, you know, I'm going to say back some time, the chat had asked for a Rosenthal Silver Division victory, and it looks like that's what you got.
Well, absolutely. If you wanted Rosenthal to win silver tonight here at Oulton Park, you got exactly what you were hoping for. You wanted Aaron Anderson to win gold tonight and go 4 in a row. You got exactly what you wanted. And if you wanted Sean Williams to put in a good result and keep that points lead, it's again, got what you wanted.
Everybody gets what they want.
Except for the people who don't.
Didn't we say that before? Yeah.
Everyone except for the people who don't.
That's right. Get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need. As was even mentioned in the chat. See, we're all humming to the same tune here.
All right, well, let's go and see who we can pull up. Let's go ahead and grab our race winner, Aaron Anderson. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing this evening? Congrats on
Good. How are you guys?
Doing awesome, man. Congrats on 4 in a row for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a tough one. It was a very bumpy track. It was hard to just keep hitting your marks and just keep plugging away.
Yep, and certainly oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, you know, to that end, we saw that you were pulling away, and obviously had probably something of an off track. You had a lap that was about 2 seconds more than your average. We missed it, unfortunately, but mistakes happen. It's just a matter of buckling back down and focus. And it looks like you were able to pull that off.
Yeah, it was right into the first chicane. That orange, cone or whatever was gone. And I don't use it as my braking point, but then when it was not there, it was really weird, and so it just caught me out enough to where I was a little bit farther right than I typically am, and I got a weird bounce off the curb, and it shot me weird, and I didn't want to try to make the corner and end up sliding the car out, so I just kind of I'm just going to take evasive action here of myself and just ride off into the grass. But yeah, then trying to regain my composure, and I had Dutton, who had an amazing race, just breathing down my neck. I was so worried he was going to make a move, but he's a pretty respectful driver, so I knew he wasn't going to do anything too crazy. He wasn't going to take a dive that, it wasn't going to make it stick. He wasn't going to make a move unless he knew he could make it work. And so, yeah, just regain my composure and start trying to inch away from him again.
That's funny, because we were just, during the race, we mentioned several times how that particular curb, you can abuse it, but only if you catch it just right. Other than that, the result was as you described.
Yeah, I was trying to pick and choose when I was going to abuse it. I was worried. I was kind of watching the tire pressures, because you start abusing these curbs, you start losing the PSI in the tires. So I was kind of watching. I'm like, okay, I'm down, I'm still at 26.7. I'm like, okay, I can abuse it once or twice, and then I just before halfway, and then I put new tires on. I'm like, okay, we can abuse it a couple more times now. You kind of get some of those the PSI back of the tire. Yeah, it was the curbs were tricky. It was deciding when you needed to do it, to try to get away, or you could use it to catch a guy. It was yeah, very interesting.
All part of the strategy.
Yep, exactly.
All right, well, 4 in a row. How are you feeling about Valencia? You've been making some good progress in the points.
I've raced it one other time for an endurance, but it has been probably 2 years.
Okay.
I am pretty bummed. I have made one heck of a charge here, for the this season, but I think I'm gonna end up coming up short, to Sean. He's run a great season though too. He deserves it, and so yeah, we're just gonna go into a Valencia and just have some fun.
Right on. Sounds like a game plan. Yeah, you're trying to overtake Sean, but he's had what, 1, maybe 2 races where he didn't finish on the podium. It's a tough ask.
Hard to gain points on a guy like that. He's, like I said, he knows what he's got to do. He doesn't need to do anything crazy to just ride this thing in. So yeah, kudos to him. Like I said, he got that lead for a reason. So yeah, I'd be doing the same thing. But I'm gonna do the best I can to try to catch him. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, right on. Well, hey, congratulations again on 4 in a row, man. That's quite an impressive season you've put together so far, regardless of where you might be in the points.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, we'll go ahead and send you back on down to the race chat there so you can get on with the race review and hang out with everyone else. Absolutely. Have a good one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if we can pull up. I don't see Dutton in here. I don't think we're going to be able to get our P2, but I do see Sean Williams. See if we can grab him on up here. Hey, Sean, good to have you back in the booth again for another podium finish. How are you doing this? How was this evening's race?
It was good. It's good to be back. Thank you. And the race is tough. It was a lot of fun. Anderson is in a whole nother class. Hats off to him. He crushed it. And but it was exactly what this. I think everyone expected this track to be tough to pass.
Yeah, there are a few spots where you had caught up to Dutton, but you weren't quite able to make the move. Was it just too tough to get around? And I saw seemed like second half of the race, you kind of just you got to like a 3.5 second gap, and you just kind of maintained that. Was it just decision not to really push and take the big risks, or?
Yeah, no, I was trying right after that pit stop. I was trying to catch him, and I was pushing as hard as I could for about 10 minutes, and was pushing, and I saw Anderson's lap times keep decreasing, and I was like, all right, it's possible. A human is doing it. I could do it. And then, sure enough, I got a track cut, and then I got another track cut, and then I went off somewhere, and I was just like, hold on, let me regain it, and I just couldn't get back on in the flow.
Gotcha. Totally understand. How was the track changing over the course of the race? Obviously, we started at we had a sunset start, so sun was in your eyes, and then the sun goes away. The track starts getting a little bit cooler. How was that changing over the course of the race?
Yeah, that first chicane is tough when that sun was going down. And early on, we took out the bollard. Someone took out the bollard at that breaking point, so that made it even harder. But I'm sure there were some offs there. I know I had an off, and yeah, it's a tough track, man. It's really tough.
It's funny. Anderson mentioned that exact same thing, that bollard being gone, and caused him to make probably the one mistake that he had for the whole race.
Absolutely. And I know we're not supposed to complain about this, and real racing drivers don't use brake markers like that, but during the formation lap, someone took out the brake marker in that high-speed double right-hander, and that killed me. I don't know if it killed anyone else, but that was tough.
No, you're right. You can't complain about it. You really got to plan on other brake markers, but those ones are kind of fairly convenient when they're gone.
Very convenient. Yep.
You got to adapt and overcome.
Yeah, and you got that Armco on the left-hand side, and there's nothing else that's there. It's just straight Armco, so it's tough.
That's there towards the end of the track, second to last corner, basically.
Second to last corner, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I will say I was really happy to see you not lose the rear end on this race.
Yeah, no, the previous race was a nightmare, and I cried to my children, but we got back on the podium, and this is good. This way, Paulie won't have me selling selling Champion Motorsports stickers to Cub Scouts.
He runs a type shift over there, doesn't he?
He does, man. It's tough. It's tough. If you don't perform, you're on the sidelines.
Well, good for you. You've been performing. You've had, what, 1-2 races where you haven't been on the podium so far?
Yeah. No, it's been good. It's been a fun season. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, and you're sitting in the points lead. You made up some extra points over Garrity, so extended that a little bit. Obviously, you lost a couple to Anderson. But he went into this round 112 off, so he'll make up, what, probably 15 or so? 20?
Yeah, well, yeah,
So-
I got to sit down and do the math, but I think that's about right. It sounds correct.
So obviously you don't want to mail it in Valencia, but you can at least go in with some comfort there.
Go in with a few drinks.
Well, there you go. Well, hey, congratulations again on yet another podium. And I think I can speak for both of us. Hope we see you up here again for Valencia.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you guys for everything you do. It's always a
Absolutely.
blast to watch it back. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate y'all putting on a good show for us. All right.
Likewise.
I'll send you down back.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. All right. And let's see if... So Dutton, I think, is still out. I don't think we're going to be able to grab him. Do we want to see... I was going to try and grab Justin Rosenthal since he's our silver winner. But it looks like he might have hopped out of the race review as well.
Yep, I don't see him in there. Well, we got, 2 of our 3 podium drivers, so that's not too bad.
Absolutely. So let's take a quick look at the remainder of the season, which is just going to be one race. We are going to wrap up this season 13. Next week at Valencia will be a night race. So it should be a little bit of a different experience. I'm sure some of these folks have raced Valencia in the night under moonlight somewhere along the way. But always a little bit different experience racing at night versus during the day. Valencia, of course, is a super fun track. It's one of my favorites in the game. Has a really nice flow to it.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different from this week's experience, where there are so many run-up areas that you can take advantage of, especially turn 1.
Turn 1, it's kind of crazy how much runoff you get and where the track limit really sits.
As a matter of fact, you have to abuse it in order to be able to catch those fast laps.
Absolutely. And not a ton of curbs that you have to deal with, not a ton of puncture and pressure loss areas, which is going to be a very welcome change of pace over after tonight. And
Yeah, looking at the track map there, if you can see it kind of in small print, turn 12, which is the tight right-hander there, is really the only one you got to worry about with the curb and not taking it too far inside, because it will launch you all the way across the track, and then you're going to be in the sand trap.
Yeah, turn 12 there, both on that inside and especially the outside. I end up with left punctures there quite a bit from fading out to that outside curb. That seems like a sharper curb there on the exit. But
one curb into the next.
Yeah, it can be a tough one, but again, overall that track has such a good flow, and it really does promote a lot of good overtaking opportunities. So it should be a fun one, packed with quite a bit of action next week. And of course, being the season finale, everyone wants to end on a high note. So I think we're going to see some really, really good racing next week.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Not that we didn't see great racing this week. But that said, I think let's go ahead and bring this on to a close here. This has been Oulton Park. I think a lot of our drivers are going to be happy to move on from it, especially knowing that we're going to Valencia next week. We all are going to be sad to see the season coming to an end here in the near future, but that'll all be replaced with excitement for the upcoming season 14. Until next time, I'll see y'all around. I've been Big Daddy and joined in here by Matt Anderson. Y'all take care.